We just watched one of the worst football games that's ever been played. There's no denying that. And now the Houston Texans are 0-3. Is the season over? Do you even want to watch anymore? I'm Paul Gallant, and this is the Gallant Says podcast after a Texans loss to the Jacksonville Jaguars 17-10. Let's go.
A radio show host in Seattle called Paul Gallant.
Paul Gallant's wondering the same things a lot of people are.
You are definitely living in the hindsight world today, Paul.
Do you feel there's been a consistent theme with the interceptions?
I think every interception really has a different story.
I was just kind of curious what Paul gets to see.
Are you kidding me? Paul Gallant, what the hell is wrong with you?
Good God. Was that not a brutal Sunday afternoon? If you watched today's Texans loss to the Jacksonville Jaguars, like me, you probably feel really hungover, and that's saying something because I woke up this morning hungover. I got through my hangover, and then I watched that game, and when I wasn't falling asleep, I was getting nauseous. That was an abomination of a football game. Let me just give you all the bad. 16 penalties combined between these two teams. These two teams combined to go 8 for 30 on third down. There were 10 3 and outs. All sorts of drops, 3 interceptions, 2 missed field goals, a fumble, awful punts by Tommy Townsend in particular. I mean, I want my 3 hours back. Can I don't know. Is it possible for me to put in a ticket with the NFL to get my money back or something? Some comments on Instagram at Sports Gallant. R. House92 says may have been the worst game of football. Fern Garcia says it looked like a preseason game. At least in the preseason, you're willing to make excuses. This was the third game of the year. Spindle Tap Breweries says straight up turd bucket. Teeman says on YouTube, Texans Titans next week is the movable object versus the stoppable force. Efrod says relegate both these teams. Make Texas A&M our NFL team. Well, I don't know how everyone's going to feel about that, but this was just a fucking slog of a game. Ugh. Punt, missed field goal, touchdown. Punt, field goal, punt. End of half. Field goal, punt, missed field goal, interception, punt, interception, touchdown, downs, fumble, touchdown, interception, end of game. 17-10, the Jaguars win. The Texans are 0-3. I was willing to give the offense a pass for week 1 and for week 2. They were going up against 2 playoff caliber teams. The Rams have a good defense. The Bucs have a good defense. The Texans had to do some shuffling at the last second on their offensive line for game 1. They had to do more shuffling for game 2. They didn't have Christian Kirk game 1 or 2. But going into this game in Jacksonville, the Texans had the offensive line that they wanted going into the year. They had their new wide receiver in Christian Kirk, who had yet to suit up. They have a couple of rookies who now have a couple of games under their belt. And what did we see out there? What went down? What happened? Perhaps a worse offensive performance than we saw from them against the Buccaneers just 6 days ago. No excuses. You saw a lot of the things that you thought were Bobby Slowick attempts at football. You saw screens for a loss. You saw sus play calling, a avoidance using young players as skill position players. So no Jalen Knoll and no Jaden Higgins, really. We saw them occasionally. Instead, you just saw a bunch of guys who couldn't get open, an offensive line that wasn't protecting very well, getting called for holds and the occasional false start. CJ Stroud, who's clearly working with happy feet, who's missing open guys. His accuracy is just not where it was. And it all adds up to a brutal offensive performance that should have you questioning, did they make the right hire at offensive coordinator in Nick Caley? That should have you questioning if we ever will see that CJ Stroud that we saw his first couple of seasons in the league. There's a lot of questions that you have to ask. And I truly do not have the answers to any of those questions. Our House 92 says Bobby 2.0, baby. F-Rod says hire John Gruden. Tiemann says CJ straight up needs to toughen up. When the going gets tough, he doesn't make the plays he needs to. Tyler Kyle says on the first interception and the interception that Trevor Lawrence threw, it was a bad route combo. All the wide receivers going to the same spot. Most of the play calls are just not it. What are your thoughts? Yeah, there were a couple of plays in this game where I remember downfield, CJ Stroud rolling to his right, and there were two receivers that were like 5 to 10 yards apart from one another running the exact same route. I saw it, and I mean, you see the lack of spacing out there, and you wonder if Nick Caley understands that concept. Does he understand how spacing works? I know that's such a insulting question, a patronizing question to ask, but you have to ask it. Does he have any understanding of how spacing works? I don't get that vibe. I really don't. One of the Texans' best offensive players today were Jaguars penalties. The occasional defensive holding. A couple of unnecessary roughness calls. The only touchdown for the Texans today came on a complete bust by the Jaguars. A complete bust. What the fuck was that by that Jaguar defensive back? It wasn't even a pump fake that CJ Stroud gave to Nico Collins. He does an out and up, and he's just wide open for a 50-yard touchdown right after the interception. And you thought right there, oh, okay, the Texans are going to win this game even though they don't deserve to. But that's where the only touchdown came today. They got into the red zone 2 more times. Nico Collins has that fumble. You do have to be careful with the football. You got the first down. There was no reason to really fight for extra yardage. I understand Nico wants to make a play, but sometimes you got to be smart. Sometimes you just got to make the catch and say, all right, I'm going to see where I can go with this. But Nico was out there truck sticking people after that one dude helmeted him. And, hey, listen, he's strong, he's powerful, but no, you got to be smart there. He did not think about ball security in that moment. He should have. So that goes down. And then you have the interception when you're knocking on the door of the Jaguars with that pass rusher that comes off the edge and the ball goes straight up in the air and a Jaguar defender's able to get underneath it and catch it. And, I mean, here you are, 0-3. And this time you lost to a team that's definitely not a playoff team. I mean, that's a dumb Jaguars team. That's a idiot operation over there. They got a lot of things they got to clean up. They can't catch. Their quarterback's inaccurate. Stroud is too, but Lawrence is very inaccurate. They got a new coaching staff that's trying to figure out what they have and what they don't have on that roster. And you're in year 3 with a quarterback that's got more potential than Trevor Lawrence, with a head coach that is really good at whipping up a defensive game plan, we at least believe. And while at the very least the defense, unlike in the game against the Buccaneers, the defense did its job. The offense was just abysmal. Joe's Fresh says, I feel like shit. Yeah, I would too. Fern Garcia asks this question: can DeMeco Ryans give up the defensive play calling and start working exclusively with the offense? Well, would he help the offense? I don't know about that. Do you look at DeMeco Ryans right now and see a guy who will actually be able to put this team back on the right track? Because if you listen to DeMeco Ryans talk about how things went down after the game, you're probably going to pull your hair out. You're probably going to get frustrated. Because I watched that post-game press conference, and I saw a guy saying the same things that he's been saying pretty much all year and all last year. The honeymoon phase is so over, and now we're at the point where fights are regular in the relationship, and you're beginning to wonder if it's worth it, and maybe you're even thankful that you didn't have kids. Sean Martinez says, I do not see DeMeco Ryans being the one that, I guess, is able to pull them out of this nosedive. They got to get better. How do you get better? I don't know the answer to that, and they sure as shit don't either. This was a brutal loss at the end of an ugly game. AR Platinum says at this point, he's been saying it for 3 years, just got to be better. Just got to be better. Yeah, man. Yeah. I totally agree with you. It's super frustrating. And I mean, I think we're just going to have to keep watching. And watching. And watching. I would not trust them to win against the Titans on Sunday. Joe's Fresh says he's a cool vibe coach. It's not going to turn around under him. People got so mad at me when I asked about like his potential as a head coach. The same things keep on happening week in, week out. Sneakers Most Wanted says hire Mike McDaniel once the Dolphins let him go. No more Patriots, Nick. Sheesh. I mean, I don't think it's about the Patriots as much as it's about hiring a guy that had McVay ties, you know? Because a lot of people were talking about that. Oh, he knows McVay. And, of course, that's how Kaylee knows Caserio. But to this point, yeah, I just have real questions about his understanding of spacing, of how to run an offense, of how to create plays that can actually scheme guys open. They keep on running these plays where they're putting Stroud behind max protection, and the protection is still allowing pressure. So maybe you got to move away from those altogether. The screens that worked against the Bucs, the throws to the running backs that worked against the Bucs, those were gone. The only explosive play came because a Jaguars defensive back shit his pants. AR Platinum says Stroud's turning into David Carr. Rick the Ruler said, yeah, I thought the head coach and Stroud post-game interview was weak sauce. I agree. RHouse92 says, I'd love to see an all-32 tape breakdown of this game. You want to watch this fucking monstrosity again? Jesus, you can do it. I'm not. They're 0-3. They're a bad football team. Period. You are what your record is, and it's one thing if you lose to the Rams and the Bucks to open the season, 2 playoff caliber teams. But when you lose to the fucking Jaguars, who tried to give you that game, I mean, you are bad. You suck. And then after the game, the gaslighting that you get from both CJ Stroud and DeMeco Ryans, it feels like that. They're DeMeco's smiling at the press conference, and CJ at the end of it's talking about how, like, hey, listen, I mean, a lot of people are going to say a lot of shit. Deservedly so. You guys suck right now. You know, and hey, listen, don't listen to any of it. He said, listen, don't listen. You can't afford to, but for Christ's sake, the messaging afterwards makes me want you to just give a one-word answer. Be a Belichick. Be an asshole at the podium. Say, we're on to Tennessee. We're on to Tennessee. On to Tennessee. Ryan Lost in Texas says on X, crying Jordan Stroud. Joe's Fresh says nothing's changed since week 1. Talking about it, we're going to see this and that. I don't see it. Time to tank. I hate the idea of tanking. I think it's immoral. No one should tank. Do you pay Stroud? I mean, what's the alternative? Do you think this team's going to move on from him? Do you think this team's not going to pay him? No. I would maybe more wonder about if Stroud's going to try to figure out a way to go to another city, given that I think he has David Mulligeta as his agent. Let me make sure. Yeah, he has David Mulligeta as his agent, and Mulligeta obviously helped Deshaun Watson get out of town. Maybe CJ wants to be the heir apparent in Los Angeles. I don't know. That's a conversation that'll take place during the offseason. Stroud is the best quarterback on the roster. He's better than Davis Mills, but he does have happy feet all of a sudden behind an offensive line that is not showing any signs of improvement, that had everyone that it wanted to have out there. And I mean, if you want to criticize Nick Caserio for anything this offseason, take a look at some of the guys that they did not go and get. Joe Tooney was acquired for a 4th-round pick by the Chicago Bears. It's an all-pro tackle we're talking about who played for the Chiefs, played for the Patriots before that at guard. Guy's a great player. 4th-round pick is what the Bears traded for him. You decided to go with Laken Tomlinson and Ed Ingram. And going into the year, I mean, there was a lot of spin for those guys. Jake Andrews, an ex-Patriot, who's better than Jared Patterson. Left tackle, you put Ariante Ursary in right away. Blake Fisher wasn't inactive today. Titus Howard's at right tackle. I think he's a very overrated player, given what he is paid. He got called for penalties again. He's false starting up a storm, just like Laramie Tunsil before him. Getting called for the occasional hold, too. I mean, look at Caserio and his inability to fix this offensive line. It is possible that while David Carr comparisons are probably rash at this moment in time, it is definitely possible that Stroud has lost his pocket presence. Certainly possible. Sneakers Most Wanted says this city is so cursed after that last Astros World Series. Rick the Ruler says, Fook, no, you don't pay Stroud. Not like a type quarterback. Well, yeah, but this is how it works, man. This is how it works. You just pay the quarterback. That's how it goes. You know? You just pay the guy. I don't know why, but the sound levels seem to be not optimal. Let me take a look here. What's going on? Why is the audio's not doing so hot? Ryan Lost in Texas says, Stroud lost his mind as soon as Tank Dell got injured. That's when he turned into crying Jordan Stroud. Oof. Yeah, he hasn't been the same guy since Tank Dell. That's for sure. And, you know, if he doesn't have Tank Dell out there, this offense just has a lot less explosiveness. Man. You can join on YouTube at Paul Gallant. Like this video if you're a first-time stopper by. You can also subscribe to the channel. It's on Twitch at Gallant Says, Facebook at Paul Gallant Sports, on X and Twitter at Gallant Says Pod. I do want to watch some of the press conference for the Texans after the game, because there were a couple of specific moments that drove me absolutely crazy. And I think they will drive you crazy as well. So we're going to just stop and go with DeMeco Ryans after the game at the podium, a little Mystery Science Theater 3000 watch along, everybody. I will say, DeMeco looks jacked today. This shirt definitely complements his biceps, so at least his shirt looks good, but his team looks like poo.
Over 3 times, that's tough to win in this league. It's tough enough to win, but when you put yourself in a position where you're helping the opponent, like, that's just not a good recipe for winning football. So until we clean up the things we can clean up, right, then we play winning football, then we'll have a chance to turn it around. But again, man, we're close. That's what it is. We're close. But
what? We're close. It's the fucking NFL, bro. You can't give us close. You should be an advanced operation compared to the Jaguars and compared to the majority of teams in the NFL. We're close? You're giving us we're close after a game. Hey, listen. I'm sure you're having different conversations with your team behind the scenes, but you can't say we're close when you're 0-3. What are they close to? In a game where they only scored a touchdown because of a complete fuck-up defensively by the Jaguars, who's fucked up a lot with all the drops that they had today as well, and the defensive penalties, too, that kept Texans' drives going. I don't know how you can say you felt like you were close there. If you won that game, you would be thankful, but you would be angry. You would be angry about the win. You at least should be. A win is a win in the NFL. Fuck off with that. That was the Bill O'Brien mindset. And look, like, I get how it's tough to win a game. And, hey, winning the AFC South, ultimately, that's all that matters. But for the love of God, we're close? You're trying to give me that? Luis says, we've been close since last year. If I messed up at work and told my manager I'm close, I would have been fired by the second time. You would think. Low-key Savage says 0-5 before the bye week feels like a real possibility. Yeah, I'm with you there. Here's more DeMeco Ryans, head coach of your Houston Texans.
close isn't good enough. So
At least he said that.
we got to pick it up and find a way to get a win.
Go on the turnovers, just there in the fourth quarter. Did you feel like literally if you could have held on to the ball there that one of those drives would pay it off and you guys?
For sure. We're going down to score. I mean, we give the ball to one of our best players, Nico. We trust him with the football. He knows it. I know he hates it more than anyone else to have the ball, taken away from him there. So that was tough. We felt the momentum shift there when we hit the big touchdown and we're driving down and we're in position to drive and score again, and you give the ball away, right, in the plus territory in the red zone. That's hard.
Yeah, it is hard, and I think if you're Nico Collins, you just have to be a little more situationally aware. You got the first down. You didn't need to fight for any more yardage. And this is a learning experience probably for him going forward. I think Nico Collins knows that he can run over people and through people, but he's got to know going forward that when you're in a spot like that and your offense is struggling, you have to keep the ball close to your body. They're trying to punch it out there, and if you're just spinning around and losing your balance, what do you think is going to happen? You're not DeAndre Hopkins. Hopkins was incredible at spinning. Remember that catch and run against the Cowboys he had where he spun twice? Like, I like Nico a lot, really do. And when you take a look at his numbers after the game, he was the Texans' offense. But in a situation like that, he's got to be smarter, and I don't think that was a winning play, much like Dario Gunbowale's dive forward for a couple of extra yards on a first down against the Rams wasn't a smart football play either. Sneakers Most Wanted says, shout out to moral victories, I guess. Ugh, more DeMeco Ryans.
What did you your viewpoint, what did you kind of see on that last interception?
Yeah, the last interception, we got beat off the edge, right? And the defender hit CJ arm, ball went up in the air, and they made a play on the football. Guy made a good catch there. They made a play there to finish the game.
What a recap of that play, Jesus.
Through 3 games, obviously a lot of eyes are on the offense. From your viewpoint, how has it gotten worse than it was last year to start last year? You guys are averaging way more points, especially through the first 3 games, less turnovers right now. You guys haven't cracked over 20. How has the offense gotten worse for all the changes that you guys have done?
Yeah, we're in this thing together, and we got to figure it all out. So we're all in this thing trying to make sure we figure out what works for us. How do we find success on the offensive side of the football, right, to continue to sustain drives and score points. We understand where we are, and we got the guys, got the right people to get it fixed. We just got to get it fixed and play cleaner.
I mean, he is right. They are all in this together because they're all a part of it. They're all a part of it. Who do you look at in the mirror after this game and say, hey, yeah, he played well? You know, Ariante Ursery had a couple of holds. You had that face mask. Titus Howard had some false starts. I think he had a hold. This is the penalty list for the Texans offense. Titus Howard had a false start. Ariante Ursery had a holding call that was offset by a Jaguars penalty. Ursery had another holding. Dalton Schultz had a false start. Titus Howard had a holding. And Ariante Ursery had a face mask. The Titus Howard holding was declined. So 6 penalties by the offense. Yeah, you're all in it together. Stroud's part of it. He's got happy feet. He's not making accurate throws. He's part of it. The receivers who can't get open are a part of it. Nick Haley and a seemingly unimaginative offense, that's a part of it. They're all in it together. Woohoo, baby! Yeah! F-Rod says, throw out the Patriot trash. I don't know if it's just Nick Haley. I think that we're now at a point where the next offensive coordinator could be just as bad, even if it's somebody with pelts on the wall, like a Chip Kelly in the offseason, or a, it totally could have been a bigger name guy, but would they make it work? I have my doubts now. I don't know if anyone's going to be able to make this work. And that falls on Nick Caserio if that's the case.
Conversations with Nick Haley, did you try to get the offense going? What's that communication like, and what do you feel like this plan? What were you guys trying to accomplish on offense with Nick today?
Yeah, for us, offensively, we were trying to just make sure we sustain positive drives. That's the thing, right?
Well, there are so many 3-and-outs. I don't know. You sure did a shit job of trying.
At games, the previous games where we've gone backwards, whether that be penalty or, not operating with enough urgency. But today I thought we were clean with operation. We just didn't make enough plays, right? But you didn't make enough plays, and then we have penalties that kind of put us back in 2nd and long, 3rd and long. We have to get past that. And as soon as we get past that, then we can see, how good of an offense we can be.
We're close. As soon as we get past that. Bro, it's a year plus of this shit. It's excusable in year 1. This ain't excusable. More DeMeco.
Not making plays and penalties. Where do you park that on?
Yeah, it all starts, first off, it starts with me, right? I got to clean it up. If we continue to make penalties, like silly penalties, it starts with me. So I got to do a better job of coaching, so we can understand how to play the right way and don't hurt ourselves.
Nothing quite like a Houston Texans coach after a game saying it starts with me. Nothing quite like that. I'm opening something up now. Listen, this is Brock Osweiler on a mashup that I made from October 9th, 2016. This is just...
I think it starts with me. I need to do my job better. I need to play better. We need to play better as a team. It starts with me, and I need to lead the way, and I need to play better. If the receivers aren't getting the ball, who's the first person that you need to look at? It's me. I need to play better. It starts with me. It starts with me doing my job better and me playing better. I'm very disappointed with the outcome today, and I'm very disappointed with how I played. For the most part, I think I saw the field, very well today. But in the end, I need to play better. So whether I'm seeing it right or wrong, regardless, I need to play better. I need to do my job better.
So that's Brock Osweiler from back in the day. I'm going to see if I can find O'Brien starts, because I'm pretty sure that back in the day, I've cut up audio where Bill O'Brien's talking about things starting with me. Let's see. Incent. O'Brien. Let's see. This is from... Okay. I actually found it. This is from, and we'll eventually play it. This is going to be from September 10th of 2017. Texans head coach Bill O'Brien, after the Texans season opening game where they played the Jaguars, they had Tom Savage in to start the game. He got sacked a ton of times. And then in the second half, they brought in Deshaun Watson, and they had a little bit more of a pulse. Here is Bill O'Brien talking about that after the game.
Starts with me. Got to do a better job, coaching. I think it starts with me. I think I need to do a better job. I need to do a better job of helping them. I think, again, that's on me. I just didn't do a good enough job. Yeah, I think, again, it comes back to me, like trying to do a better job with these guys. Just comes down to, me making sure that I'm doing the best I can to do a better job. Like I said, it's we got to coach better, and hopefully that'll lead to us playing better.
It starts with me. We hear this from coaches all the time. And we heard it from O'Brien a lot. Now we're hearing it from DeMeco Ryans. And, this is, if it starts with you and you're regularly saying it starts with you, well then, how about you start to make it better? More DeMeco.
How do that? Your team is making penalties like this?
God, those arms are huge, though.
Yeah, some of the penalties is not what we coach to do. And again, penalties come from poor technique. So it's not a matter of guys are trying to make penalties, but we just got to clean up with how we're playing the technique the proper way. You play the technique right, and you eliminate penalties.
Is it just technique? For the false starts, for the holds. I mean, he was saying, I think after the Rams game, that some of those penalties were aggressive ones, and you take the aggressive penalties out there. But now it's about technique. Huh.
Rotation at guard with that, is that an evaluation kind of thing?
Yeah, we wanted to get juice. We wanted to get juice in a little bit.
They put Juice Scruggs in the game for a little bit, I guess, by the way. I'm guessing that didn't go so well. Blake Fisher was inactive for this game. 2 second-round Houston Texans offensive linemen barely play. Blake Fisher from last year's draft, Juice Scruggs from the year
there
before
for
that.
Lakins. Just wanted to roll those guys, see how that's going. So we wanted to roll those guys. That was our plan going into the week.
A few more.
Derek Stingley Jr., do you have an update?
Yeah, Stingley had an oblique injury. He'll be day-to-day. We'll see how he progresses throughout the week.
How would you evaluate Nick Haley's performance so far?
Yeah, for our offense, right, overall, we're all in this thing together, right? Of course, we want to play better offensively, right? We all are sticking together.
We're all in this game together. Oh, my God, man. It's just, listen, I understand why he has this approach, but it just doesn't work when you're 0-3. It works when you're a good team that has things to clean up. This is a talented team. And that's what makes the 0-3 start so inexcusable to me. And, yeah, definitely on DeMeco Ryans, who I asked questions about last year because we were saying the same thing over and over again. Now people are finally starting to see things like I did.
Find a way to make sure we figure it out, and we will, because I know we have the right people right? We got the right staff. We got the right players. We just got to figure it all out, and we got to go show it. It's not me saying it. We just got to go show it, and that's when we'll see the improvement.
It seems like
Will we? You're 0-3. Playing the Titans. I mean, you got a game against the Ravens before the bye week. And, I mean, now at this point, say you even beat the Ravens at the bye, you're still 2-3 going into the bye week.
you just go back a couple of years, when CJ was back at quarterback, things felt not necessarily easier, but there were a lot more explosives consistently. This year it just hasn't felt as many throughout this season. What can you guys just do to kind of get that explosiveness that CJ obviously can lead an offense to back on track?
Yeah, we hit an explosive today to DeMeco for a touchdown, right? We had another one on the over route that we just missed the throw and catch a little bit, so the explosives are there. We got the guys to get the explosives. We haven't connected on as many. I understand that, but we hit one today as well.
The explosives are there. Like that one, I remember hearing that at first in the press conference. That one's insane. The explosive play happened there because a Jaguars player did something that a high schooler would do. I mean, you never see a guy that open in the NFL. Like, he just completely fucked up there. So Nico was wide open down the left side of the field. Don't act like that was drawn up. That came as a result of carelessness by the Jaguars. That part of the press conference actually makes me a little mad. DJ's asking politely about the lack of explosive plays. That was a question from DJ Bieneme of ESPN. And he's saying, well, we had one. Yeah, but it's not one you drew up. It's one that came because the Jaguars kept on shooting themselves in the foot over and over and over again. The Jaguars basically tried to lose that game with all the drops, with all the penalties that they had. And that play right there, inaccurate moments from Trevor Lawrence. He was 20 of 40 today. And I mean, yeah, there were a lot of drops, but he was just missing guys. And you couldn't take advantage. This is a game against a team that you're better than, talent-wise. I don't think that's disputable. And in spite of that team constantly shooting themselves in the foot, you did not win. Because you were doing a little bit of the same. Oof. Rick the Ruler's calling out Casario's eye on the offensive line. He says it's not trustworthy. I mean, they did find Nico Collins. They did find Tank Dell. We'll see if Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel can do anything. But at this point, the rookies are barely involved. I would think that they're more capable of getting open than some of the guys that they're putting out there. More DeMeco and his massive biceps.
I feel like you could have done that a little bit earlier, connecting on that type of explosive play.
I feel like we ran our offense how we ran it. If we made the plays that we made in the game, right? We called it how we called it. We can't control what's happened now. You always look back at the film. You'll go back and analyze it and see, okay, what could we have done better? What could we have done different here or there? And that's why you review the game and see how you make improvements the next week.
You know what that quote reminds me of? That quote right there reminds me of this specific moment. I don't know how many people remember this from back in the day, but ladies and gentlemen, here is Miss Teen USA South Carolina from 2007 answering a question from Amy Teagarden.
Okay. Recent polls have shown a fifth of Americans can't locate the U.S. on a world map. Why do you think this is?
I personally believe that U.S. Americans are unable to do so because some people out there in our nation don't have maps, and I believe that our education, such as in South Africa and the Iraq, everywhere such as, and I believe that they should, our education over here in the U.S. should help the U.S. or should help South Africa and should help the Iraq and the Asian countries, so we will be able to build up our future for our children.
Unbelievable. And again, this is not me calling out DeMeco's intelligence or anything like that. That strong, powerful, independent woman clearly had a massive brain fart there. But I am looking at that answer from DeMeco Ryans, and to me, it's just like jumbled word salad. I don't know what any of the things he said there were. What the fuck was that? More from DeMeco Ryans before we move on to hearing CJ Stroud talk.
Are you discouraged by the way your team is playing in addition to the 0-3?
Yeah, I am not discouraged by my team, right? We played with outstanding effort today. We played with the resolve to give ourselves a chance to come back and win the game. And again, it's another fourth quarter drive, and that's the first 3 games. So am I discouraged? No. We've been in all 3 ball games, right? We've had opportunities in the fourth quarter, right? 2 times offensively to go and end the game, 1 time defensively, and we didn't make those plays to win the game. So our team is right there, despite how it looks, how it feels. Do we want to be 0-3? No, we don't want to be 0-3, right? But until we play cleaner ball and we find a way to finish and get on the winning side in the fourth quarter, that's when we'll get in the win column.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you guys.
Oh, my God. Like, listen. That is his personality. He's not going to throw everyone under the bus, but when it's an 0-3 start and you see the guy at the podium talking like that, it just makes every fan's blood boil. Going on an unhinged rant like your Dabo Swinney, that's not doing anything for you either, but a lot of times in that press conference, you heard DeMeco Ryans say, this team is close. Oh, boy, I just don't see it. The Jaguars, I think, made more of an effort to give this game away than the Texans were able to, I think, put effort into this game. And you see the Jaguars, all the drops and the mistakes that they were making. They were giving it to you at the end of that one. Lawrence throws the interception. The defensive back bites hard on a double move that Nico Collins didn't even need a pump fake to get by, you know? He made one little motion, and that guy bit so hard. That was back-to-back plays. There were missed throws that the Jaguars tried to give this game away, and you didn't take it. And, the idea that the work ethic was there and that the effort was there and all that shit. I'm sorry, it just rings very hollow and sounds annoying when it's being framed like that with a smile. It feels like you're being gaslit. Oh yeah, we're right there. We're right there. I can accept we're right there after a loss to the Bucs. I can accept we're right there after a loss to the Rams. And I know DeMeco is going to say all 32 teams in the National Football League are worthy of respect. Blah, blah, blah. Not the fucking Jaguars. Sorry. They're not. They're not. Ugh. So that was DeMeco Ryans. What did CJ Stroud have to say after the game? By the way, lots of people are worked up about CJ Stroud's wardrobe once again. Anyone notice the hat? He's wearing a Yankees hat. Now, look, there's certainly a cultural difference when it comes to wearing hats. Some people wear hats because they think that they look good. They like to have a collection of hats. Other guys wear hats because it represents where they're from, a team that they root for, etc. When you're 0-3 and the offense isn't doing anything and you still haven't scored a red zone touchdown and you keep on giving the ball away when you're in the red zone, people are going to look at this hat and they're going to focus on it and they're going to get mad at it. Even if it's a stupid thing to get mad at, people are going to get pissed off about this hat. That will 100% be a sports radio conversation at some point this week. I suppose I'm going to have that conversation on the live stream tomorrow at noon. But that will 100% be discussed and it will be insufferable. But when you are struggling, people are going to look for anything to get on your case about. And I think the idea, hey, he should know better. An Astro City, a guy who plays for a team that's a rival of the Astro, excuse me, a guy who plays for, let me try to frame this. I can't believe CJ Stroud's wearing the hat of one of the rivals of the Houston Astros. Doesn't he understand the history between the two? He probably doesn't. I would bet he's a baseball casual and maybe doesn't understand that the Astros and Yankees hate each other, that the Yankees have accused the Astros of cheating. You know, he did have the Mariners hat. He said it looked cool. The Mariners do have a cool hat. A lot of people think the Yankees hat is cool. Personally, I would rather wear a Russian or Chinese hat. You know, seppuku would be on the table over wearing a Yankees hat. But this is something that's going to get focused on because the offense is struggling. Sneakers Most Wanted says, I'm not mad at the hat, but you got to show support to the city you leave it all out on the field for. Omar says, I'm more offended with CJ wearing a hoodie in 90-degree weather. Yeah, he seems like he's cold a lot. Some of these places, I will say NRG Stadium, it gets pretty cold there. The air conditioning there is very powerful. More from CJ Stroud.
You all were able to connect late on that 50-yard touchdown pass. Did you feel like the opportunities weren't there as much in the first half, or were y'all just trying to take what the defense gives and move the ball down a little bit slowly?
A little bit of both. They played some good coverage, and I tried to take what they gave me in the first half, and that play kind of just popped. So it's a good play. But yeah, that's kind of how the first half went compared to the second.
For you guys, what was the most frustrating part about it? Was it penalties or just, knowing that y'all?
One of those questions, and I think that's John Alexander asking it, sometimes just ask the question. You don't need to list everything. What was most frustrating for you out there? It is kind of funny just to list out all those things in front of him. I don't think Stroud looks very thrilled here if you're watching along with us.
What do you think?
I think it has to go together. The penalties are part of us, knowing that we're better, but also, we can play a lot better. I could play a lot better. We got to help. Our defense has been holding up. We got to, able to help them. So, yeah, it's not easy, but yeah, we just got to do better.
Defense did do their job in this game, and yeah, they got to do better. And you're just going to hear a lot of that. Ugh.
After you start the season, just how do you guys kind of right the ship from here?
Just move forward. Got to fix some mistakes, and yeah, just keep going forward.
Keep going forward. It's like he's quoting Attack on Titan.
Nico was, obviously not pleased with that fumble. I guess, how do you all, he had made those mistakes in the past, so how do you all kind of work through that in particular?
I just got to pick them up, just like they picked me up, out through interception, and everybody was, helping me out on the sideline, keeping my spirits up, and same thing for him. We know, he knows that, we all know he doesn't really do that, so it's just something we got to just coach up, and whatever, happened, we got to just fix. And, yeah, he's a heck of a player, and yeah, my faith is in him like everybody else's, so just got to pick him up, and I'm sure that we'll get that fixed.
Do you feel like that touchdown to Nico could have been like that jump starter that could have been, because from that moment on, the offense was kind of moving up and down pretty efficiently. Do you feel like that play, obviously outside the turnovers, was kind of like a jump starter for the offense?
Yeah, definitely. Whenever you can make a big play, you could start calling everything, and that was the first time we kind of hit one other than, a go ball last week, which isn't really like a design play. This league is hard to, take what they give you time and time after again. And, that's what this league has come into with all the too high zone coverage. And so, yeah, that play kind of opened everything up, and we started moving the ball really well after that.
They did move the ball better at the end of the game, and somehow they're going to have to figure that out. What was working those last two drives? Because it did look good. If you want to take any little thing out of this game, for what it's worth, you had that at the end. but Nico Collins had to fumble in the red zone. You have gone 3 weeks without a red zone touchdown. Constant red zone possession failures where you're getting no points out of it. And then you have the pressure from the blind side, ball straight up in the air, interception at the end. I know DeMeco says the Texans are close, and I mean, he is not wrong in that this is a team that plays in a lot of close games, and a couple of plays go the other way. This is a 3-0 team with a lot of questions. You're in it from CJ Stroud, too. If you want to do that spin zone, you can. The problem is you just keep on shooting yourself in the foot. And even if the offense got going at the end of the game after almost 3 weeks, do you look at the offense and expect this to continue? I'm pretty skeptical about that. More from CJ Stroud after the game.
On that last play, obviously, your arm got hit. What were you just kind of seeing on when you just kind of just going through that coverage and obviously trying to get the ball curved down a bit? Obviously, the ball got tipped. What were you just kind of seeing on that play?
Oh, yeah. I mean, they went to like this two-man kind of coverage, and I thought Kirk was open. I thought we maybe would have scored. And like you said, my arm got tipped, so unfortunate there. I made a good play, and, that's the NFL. It's like 2-inch margins, And, yeah, it just sucks because I thought I had CK down the middle, and I thought we had a good drive. We're moving the ball pretty well. So, it's unfortunate.
The one interception Stroud threw to Kirk, I do not know why he put so little mustard on the ball. You're throwing towards the sideline, deep down the field. That's a tough throw to make. And for a guy that we think has impeccable accuracy, which is certainly looking questionable just based off of the first 3 weeks, you would think he would know, I got to really step into this ball. And is this related to the happy feet that he's showing under pressure and his tendency to bail out of the pocket and run backwards and get sacked for more yardage than he should? I don't know, but that throw that was intercepted, the first interception where he wasn't hit from the blind side as he was throwing it, that throw was a bad throw. And there was another shot play that he had where he had, I think it was Kirk. He had Kirk. Kirk had a step, and he overthrew him by a couple of yards. And maybe all of these, trebuchet-style plays hit eventually, but it's the accuracy for Stroud has been an issue. And I do not know where it stems from, but it is why you're seeing as many people in the chat questioning CJ Stroud right now. More from CJ.
What was DeMeco's message in the locker room after the game, and how do you all grapple with getting things on track after going through the start?
Just fixing the issues. We're really close, and that's the problem. Is that we just keep, reiterating that we're close, and now it's time to, fix the issues and, be honest with one another. So, his message is just, we're going to keep having these results if we don't finish and we don't, take care of the ball and just do the small things. Because the effort's there, the physicality. Now it's just the execution.
No one wants to hear that it's close. Even if it is, no one wants to hear it. They've got to get that out of their language. They've got to. If DeMeco actually had this approach at his press conference, I think we'd be a little less frustrated with DeMeco if he was a little more depressed. But he wasn't. He was kind of sing-songy and smiley. More from CJ Stroud.
At the bright side after a loss, but what are some of the good things that you guys are doing on offense today?
I thought we ran the ball well. I thought we somewhat threw it well. It's always better than what you think, but when you lose, of course, it's not good enough. So, there's the sun will rise up tomorrow, and we'll be able to go back to work. So that's a positive, and you got to just keep going forward. Everybody's gonna talk crazy like they've been doing and have these analyses, and rightfully so. That's NFL. You give them an inch, they'll take a mile. So we got to be able to stay together stick together, stay as a family, stay as a brotherhood, and try to get these things fixed because it's a long season. It's, sucks you start 0-3, but it can be flipped. So thank you.
Okay. So it is a long season, but there's a specific part in this quote. I don't see how there can be any pushback from the Texans when it comes to this.
Like they've been doing and have these analyses, and so there's the sun will rise up tomorrow and we'll be able to go back to work. So that's a positive, and you got to just keep going forward. Everybody's gonna talk crazy like they've been doing and have these analyses, and rightfully so. That's NFL. You give them an inch, they'll take a mile. So.
Give them an inch, they'll take a mile. Everyone's going to talk crazy, and rightfully so. It's not crazy. You're 0-3. Your offense isn't scoring. You're supposed to be a top 10 quarterback. You've said you're a top 5 quarterback, and the results on the field are screaming imposter and fraud. That's not talking crazy. The crazy people are the people here in Houston, Texas, and wherever else Texans fans are, that are sitting and waiting to see something that we saw 2 years ago. We are now the crazy ones. We are the ones who think that this team is better, a lot better than what they've shown. And now we're wondering if we're crazy. Rightfully so. All the conversation on the outside looking in is correct. Very often, you're too close to a situation to realize that you're in a bad spot, which is where we are. We all just saw that fucking awful football game. We all suffered through it, and a team that sucks tried to give you chance after chance to win a game you had no business winning, ever. You never had any business winning this one. People are going to talk crazy. Come on, CJ. People are going to talk crazy. We're the crazy talkers thinking that this is eventually going to get better. And I know there's still a good amount of people that feel that way, but if I operate with that line of thinking, I'm going to sound like I'm paid. The Texans don't pay me. If the Texans paid me, it would be one thing. They're not paying me. And by the way, I don't think the flagship is paid to be nice about the Texans. And I think even from time to time, Texans radio and Mark and John, they're actually honest about the team. They're definitely going to be honest. No choice but to after what happened yesterday. You're 0-3. But we're now the crazy ones if we think that this offense has potential. The reality is what they have been for 3 weeks, and they had Jake Andrews at center, and they had Christian Kirk. This is about as close to 100% as this offense could be for the entirety of this year. And what did we see out there? A giant fart. Let's read some comments and then get out of here. And then I'm going to watch baseball. Great. What a fucking fun Sunday. Stroud needs to go full heel, says Ryan, lost in Texas. Come in with a Palestinian flag. Come in wearing a German World War I era helmet with the spike on the top. That would be a move. More comments here. I find myself saying I want that Georgia CJ game every week, starting to think it's all a myth. We saw some moments in 2023, the game against the Bucs that he had in 2023, the last second touchdown pass. That's where I thought he could be special, and it just has been such a rare occurrence to see Stroud be that guy over the last season and a little sixth. It's been we're about a sixth of the way through this season. Rob says, I'd be mad too if I were CJ. Yeah, but mad at myself. Rob asks, why hasn't Stroud been allowed to call a single audible thus far this year? Well, I think he actually does have the ability to do checks at the line. Ryan Lawson, Texas says your offense looks like fucking shit. Grow up and fucking do better. Yep. Sneakers most wanted. CJ's in the bottom tier of starting quarterbacks in the entire league. The front office should be in panic mode. I would not say bottom tier. Ryan Lawson, Texas says CJ Stroud's career died with Tank Dell's knee. Yeah, since Tank Dell, it's not been the same. Omar says bad teams commit too many penalties. Bad teams turn the ball all over in the red zone. DeRhino.
Paul, stop talking. Listen.
Shout out for the super chat. I was crazy to think CJ was going to be one of those QBs who would come to the line and diagnose defenses or change plays and run good offense. And theoretically, he can still get better at that. But at this point in time, yeah. Omar F says bad teams say they're close to winning. Sting Ray 8A2 says you can't substitute talented players with coaching up players. I'm with you. Cassius says time. Like, that's you're hoping for right now, time to fix things. I don't know if it does. Our House 92 on Instagram says, I'm watching the Bears game. Watching the plays Ben Johnson's calling, it makes me sad. Manny Man 17 asks, is the Texans season over? It's not over. They're in the AFC South, but this was a huge one to blow. You needed this one. And now, I mean, it's an uphill battle all season long. You can't get the tiebreaker with the Jaguars now. Losing two out-of-conference games to NFC teams, that's not the end of the world. Losing this one, this stings. JJ Diaz 1986 says CJ wanted control. CJ thought he was the guy. CJ mad now that he knew Bobby was right. CJ's not ready. Well, I don't know if he was operating it that way, but somebody asked the same question on my Instagram. Did the defense lose this game too? Or are you willing to admit CJ isn't the guy? Asked Ryan Byrne. The dude has checked out mentally, can't read pre-snap blitzes, stares down his primary route, holds onto the ball too long, and the list goes on. DeMeco looks to have lost the locker room and can't motivate anyone. This shit is crazy. I don't know if he's lost the locker room, but I think there's a lot of people in that locker room that need to figure out what it is that they can do to make their preparation better so that they're not constantly doing the little things wrong, because that's the big problem right now. Cassie asks, does someone get fired? I don't know. Ryan Lawson, Texas asks if the Goldblum pillow's been upside down all day might have been the issue. I don't know. The watch party, I feel like a little part of me died spending this entire afternoon watching that fucking game. It was brutal. Brutal fucking game. Brutal fucking loss. They're 0-3. It's a bad football team. So we're going to do another watch party for Astros Mariners in a little bit. I forget what time I have it scheduled for. I might take a little bit of a break, take a shower, maybe even. But if you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel if this is a first-time thing, or give me a sub on Twitch, which is @GallantSays. You can also follow me on X/Twitter. There's @GallantSays, then there's @GallantSaysPod, where I post clips of the show and announcements about the show. You can also follow and watch the show on Facebook @PaulGallantSports or on Instagram @SportsGallant. If you ever have a question that you want to ask and the show's not going on live, send me an email to gallantsays@gmail.com or give me a call at 281-836-3912. Again, 281-836-3912. Leave a voicemail. That is the Gallant Says podcast voicemail line. And after the fact, this will be available wherever you get your podcasts, Apple and on Spotify. So subscribe, rate, and review if you're more of a podcast person. Every little bit of support helps. We will have a live stream tomorrow at noon if you don't want to watch a little more baseball with me. The Astros and Mariners game, which is going to, I think, start in about 10 minutes or so. Until then, I am merely Paul Gallant. So long, farewell, and have yourselves a wonderful rest of your weekend. Peace!